We'll now take questions for Team USA's head coach. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand now. Andrew, go ahead.
Thanks a lot. Joel, you obviously had a great start tonight in the first period. What do you think went wrong in the second? Were you guys not able to sustain that momentum, or were you a bit surprised by Canada's pushback?
I don't think we were surprised by Canada's pushback. I'm not sure how to answer that. I felt like we got kind of behind it, and I'd have to go back and look at the video to give you an honest answer. They were clearly better in the second. We were pretty good in the first, and sometimes that's the way the game goes. You can look back at one or two face-offs, or a missed dump in, or a missed shot on goal, or a tip or something, and that's the way it is. But I was proud of our group. I thought we had a great first, and weathered the storm in the second, and then had a really good third period, and then you get to overtime and anything happens.
When you're standing behind the bench, and obviously you're trying to get your team to win, but do you appreciate just how fantastic a game it was?
Yeah, I do, and I'd be remiss if I didn't pause and just say a special thank you to the IIHF and Hockey Canada for hosting such a fantastic event. The opportunity to play, that was one of our keys to the game, was just to enjoy the opportunity. These players and most of the staff people for all these federations have been waiting for 2 years, some of us to just play a game. And so it was a good game. We came up short and overtime of a world championship. So that's a hard one to just talk about right after. But when I look at the last 4 weeks of the travel and the quarantine and everything, I can't be anything but excited and proud of our group. It was a special group to be around, and there's just a lot of pride in myself as I feel or as I look at our team.
Very good. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Andrew. David, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, thanks for doing this. I'm just wondering, overall, this was really your first chance to be the head coach of this team at this level. So overall, I know the result was probably not exactly what you were hoping for, but how would you evaluate the experience overall?
I had a blast. As far as winning and losing, that's obvious. Nobody wants to lose. Disappointed in that, but I count it a privilege. I don't care what my role is. To have the title of head coach is irrelevant to me. Our staff is fantastic, not just the coaches, but the entire staff. And so for me, just to be a part of that group and then to represent the players is just really special. And I told our players all week, all 2 weeks, all 3 weeks, all 4 weeks, you have to treat what's special as special, because then it stays that way, and don't ever treat it as ordinary. And I think our group did that, and we're having a blast right up until that buzzer went off in the middle of overtime, and then we didn't have a blast anymore. But up until that point, it was a privilege to be out there representing our country, and I can't say anything more than that.
Kirsten, go ahead.
Hey there. I'm wondering just around player deployment. There's a few young players who obviously have had really strong tournaments. There's a few young players who didn't see the ice today. What went into those decisions, and also, I guess, the decision to not make adjustments as the game went on around who was seeing the ice in what situations?
Yeah, those decisions were not made just today. They're made over a 4 or 5 week period that we were together. So, you'd have to be in our room and in our practices and have a little bit more intimate knowledge to understand all the factors that led into that. What I do know and what I can say is the players that didn't see the ice are an incredible value to our team, and they could have easily just as well been out there in the lineup. And as we go forward, we're excited about not just the players who played today, but everybody on our roster. But to answer your question, you gotta have a lot more knowledge of our team and our makeup and our practices and our games and our preparation and everything else. Otherwise, I'd be doing a disservice to the process.
Is there any insight you can offer on that? Obviously, we can't be in your camps and in your practices day to day, but obviously, if there's anything you can offer, I'm sure everyone would be curious to hear more.
No, there's not. We're excited about our group, and certainly myself as a coach, I told our players after the game, I've got to do a better job of making sure that we're organized or better prepared in whatever way that I can. And as we go, that's going to be a part of evaluating who's playing, who's in the lineup, what positions they are, what adjustments we make during the game. But I'm certainly not going to explain it to everybody out here that has no space in our room.
Mike, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, kind of going off of the questions about deployment, I noticed, Lee Stecklein, I think, played nearly 26 minutes in regulation. Of course, she was also given the nod as the best defenseman of the tournament, named a media all-star. Lee is one of those players who maybe doesn't always get a ton of recognition, not really known for always the offensive side of her game in terms of just goals and assists and things like that. But I was wondering if you could speak to her value to this team, what she brought in this tournament, and if you take any satisfaction or pride in her getting that individual accolade as the best defender.
Yeah, she deserved it. She's been our best player, I think, all tournament. When you talk about a 200-foot game in all three zones, she's somebody that you're correct in the analysis. She doesn't always, show up in the score sheet, but you look at this tournament, I think going into the game today, she was one of, if not one of the top scorers for points for our team and even in the tournament. So to see her be recognized on the score sheet as much as we recognize her off the score sheet is certainly a fun thing to see. And it goes back, to the last question about deployment and everything else. There's so many variables that come into play. And so when I look at Lee and I look at some of the other players, it's just exciting to see people jump into to accept whatever role is asked of them and play really well. And I thought Lee was by far our best defenseman, probably our best overall player through the tournament. And she deserves all the accolades she receives.
And also another quick one of, Nicole, in a game like this comes down to one goal. It's overtime. It's a shot by Boulan. I mean, what are you going to do? But really kind of earned that starting role in this game. Kessel was saying how she didn't come into this tournament as a team starter necessarily, but she earned it. I was wondering if you could talk about her performance tonight and in the tournament as a whole.
Yeah, she was fantastic tonight, and I thought she was great. In previous games, also in the game, she kind of came in late. The thing about Nicole is she's just steady. She's not seeking the spotlight, but she's ready to step in. And I thought she actually stole the spotlight a little bit the last two games. She stepped up and said, hey, this is my net and it's going to be tough to score. So I give her all the credit. We've got a great group of goaltending coaches that work within USA Hockey. Bree McLaughlin Biddle is back home and Allie Altman's with us on this trip. And they just do a great job preparing our goaltenders. And so as I mentioned the other night, we've got a great group, but, I'm going to give the nod to Nick. She was great today. And as you mentioned, 1 goal game in overtime, 3-on-3, it's hard to judge a goaltender on that situation. I just thought she was great. And I'm looking forward to seeing her continue to progress, just like I am with Alex and Aaron and all the other goaltenders that are in our player pool.
Erica, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Congrats on a great tournament there, Coach. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the overtime. So last time this team would have played, obviously you went to a shootout. This format was a little bit different. Just generally speaking, what was the process like, or kind of the goal for 3-on-3 and kind of the matchups, what you wanted to see from the team and how you think you executed tonight?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting development. The change in the rules, I think, is a positive one. I think most people would rather see it decided by play on the ice versus a shootout. But, the key to 3-on-3 is just possession and trying to take advantage of your possession and keep it and then gain some odd person situations, which is what you saw. We had a couple chances to go, and then, they got one at the end with somebody that got the puck on their stick who's a pretty good goal scorer and took advantage. And that's 3-on-3 hockey. You see it at every international and NHL level when those players get out there. It's fun to watch and it's an entertaining style. And unfortunately, when you're on the wrong end of it, it stings a bit. But I thought our approach was good. More importantly, I thought our organization was pretty solid and we knew what we were trying to do. Sometimes another team executes in a different way and you have to just live with those situations. And that's what Canada did today, and they beat us.
Also, Coach, wanted to ask you, you've talked before about this tournament being about, going for this tournament, but there's also an element of taking a look at what you've got, getting ready for the Olympics. Castle told us that I guess the players will have about a month off before, really gearing up. What will that look like for you and the coaching staff, though? Is that timeline a little bit different as far as what you have to do to prepare?
Yeah, I can tell you personally, I can't wait to go home and see my family. It's been 4 weeks, and I probably speak for every staff member and representing any country here. This has been a grind, and it has been for our players as well. So I'm not going to think one bit. It'll just be really good to sleep in my own bed and say hello to my wife and my kids and have some family time and get kind of reset. And then probably a couple days later, I'll be chomping at the bit and getting some film, looking at that and saying, how can we be better? And I know our players are going to do the same thing. If you're, could hear some of the comments in the dressing room, it was, hey, we've got to be better. And we know it. We're proud of our effort, but now we know that it's not quite good enough yet. And I feel the same way as a coach. So, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to think about hockey for a few days. I'm going to enjoy some time and get back to life as normal and give my wife a hug and say hello to my kids and enjoy some time at home. And then when the time is right, we'll reset and get ready for when we come back in October.
We'll take one final question for Coach. Jeremy, go ahead.
You bet. Thank you so much, Coach. Just a follow-up question to your last statement. Is there one specific area from the Women's World Championship that you think the U.S. could have been better? And are you going to be focusing on that particular part of the game leading up to the Olympics in 2022?
Yeah, I think the way that I'd answer that is yeah, there's one specific thing. We've got to score on the power play. We got to generate more chances and be more organized. And I take 100% responsibility as a coach for us not being as prepared or not being as successful in that area. But as to how it relates to the next Olympics, I don't know. That's a long way away. We're going to work on power play, but it's not like we're only going to work on power play for the next 6 months. We've got to be prepared in a lot of different ways. So I thought our power play was a disappointment this tournament, and it led to, some missed opportunities, including today's game. But that's a part of the self-evaluation that I have to say, I've got to be better. I can look at a lot of things and say, all right, was my bench management okay? Was the personnel choices okay? Was the roster management okay? I'm going to self-evaluate. I hope our players do the same. But at the end of the day, as to how it relates to the process towards Beijing, I'm not sure there's one piece that we're going to focus on for Beijing. What I really want to focus on is keeping the same culture we have, keeping the same energy in the room, and keeping the same commitment to playing the game the right way. And I was so proud of our group, and I can't say that strongly enough. Whether somebody played 2 minutes or 0 minutes or 25 minutes, it was just a fun experience to be a part of.
Thank you, everyone. That's all the time we have with Team USA. Team Canada will be up next.